Hey folks, Lachlan here again, speaking to you from just outside of Durban, South Africa. I've gained several hundred new subscribers on YouTube in the last 2 weeks. So today, this is the second video I'm recording today. So in this one, I'd like to talk to you about something I don't often share publicly. And to do that, I'm going to let my guard down a little bit, which is generally unwise to do on the internet, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I believe in being authentic. What I want to talk to you about in this video is what my real life experience of South Africa has been for basically my entire existence of almost 35 years now, because I was born here in South Africa and I've never been anywhere else. So, for those of you who may be new here and not know much about me, I was born in Joburg in 1990, and I was born with a severe and permanent physical disability known as quadriplegic cerebral palsy, which, among other things, means that I can't walk and have been confined to a wheelchair for my entire life. At the age of 5, my family moved from Gauteng to KwaZulu-Natal, where I have lived for the rest of my life. Specifically in KwaZulu-Natal, I have lived in and around various suburbs of eThekwini. eThekwini is the municipality in which the major city of Durban is located. Firstly, I want to get the difficult stuff out of the way. Although apartheid was abolished more than 30 years ago now, it is an undeniable reality that the cultural echoes of apartheid still have a large impact on the lives of many non-white South Africans to this day. It would be both dishonest and unfair to deny the fact that many black South Africans living today in 2025 lack opportunities and resources as a direct consequence of the struggles their parents faced during apartheid. Having said that, as I was born in 1990, like I said at the start, I myself take no personal responsibility for what was done during apartheid, and I do not apologize for it, because I cannot apologize for something in which I did not participate. The other things that I wanted to get out the way are the fact that, yes, South Africa is a very violent place. We have among the highest rates of violent crime in the world, and those are matched pretty evenly by our rates of unemployment and poverty. I myself am a recipient of the state disability grant, and aside from a short period in my early 20s when my economic prospects were better than they are now, I have received the disability grant since I was about 18. I have not had a conventional job, meaning I haven't been employed by someone else to do something in about 10 years. But I am a journalist by profession. I have worked in local news as well as in emergency services, often dealing directly with crimes such as housebreaking, robbery, and murder, often specifically farm murders. So I myself am vividly aware of how violent and uncertain South Africa can be. Something I want to say about the crime rate in South Africa. Although our rates of rape, murder, and other violent crimes are extremely high, something that must be pointed out is that the majority of victims of these violent crimes are black South Africans. That is simply the truth, and it should not be avoided or misinterpreted. Also, I do not believe that the vast majority of black South Africans have hatred in their hearts for white people, despite what happened during apartheid. If the majority of black South Africans truly hated people like me, we would already be dead, because frankly, conflict like that is just a numbers game. So although when I make videos talking about the corruption of the ANC and other political parties in this country, I get insults, racial abuse, and even death threats. I acknowledge that those things come from a vocal minority of the people who do not represent the opinions of the whole. Today, what I want to discuss is that I want to tell you what my life growing up in South Africa was really like, aside from all the negative stuff. My memories of teenagehood and beyond start with remembering long trips on the school bus back from my high school in Durban, specifically in the suburb of Glenwood, which is in central Durban. We would travel on the school bus. I went to a government school in high school called Open Air School, so named because it was founded many decades ago for children with physical disabilities, and it was called Open Air School because at the time there weren't very many school buildings, and the kids would often spend time with their teachers underneath the trees on the property on which the school is located. And in fact, its emblem is a large tree. And so, as I said, I grew up in post-apartheid South Africa. So my school memories are of fully integrated classrooms and spending lunch breaks with friends of all races, black, white, Indian, and everything in between, cracking jokes, sharing food with each other, sometimes buying food from what we South Africans refer to as the tuck shop, or what Americans would think of as a cafeteria, and generally just making the most hardcore, politically incorrect jokes about one another's races and disabilities that we could think of. It was possible to do this growing up, to joke about each other's differences and each other's struggles, because all of us knew, even if we didn't say so, that despite how twisted and cruel the jokes could sound, truly there was no malice behind them. And if we ever did cross a line, we would apologize and respect those boundaries going forward. I can remember friends of mine laughing at me, specifically black friends, I must point this out. Black friends laughing at me and having a lot of fun at my expense because I enjoyed the song Nkalagata, which is a Kwaito song. Kwaito is a specifically South African genre of black music which emphasizes rhythm and beat. And naturally, being white and also being physically disabled, I'm not the most rhythmically coordinated guy. So while I enjoyed the song, I could never quite get on the beat like my black friend could. and this entertained them thoroughly. I remember spending many days in class helping the other kids to understand Shakespeare and helping them with Afrikaans homework. They in turn helped me with mathematics and, in the years that I took it, with the language of isiZulu. South Africa, as I know it, is a complicated place. We have many, many problems. Many of our people live in hopeless situations, and that cannot be denied. My own situation is difficult. Because of my physical disability, I am deeply socially isolated because public spaces in South Africa are not particularly accessible to somebody as severely disabled as myself. My opportunities for employment and productive life are extremely limited, and I do the best I can. When I criticize my government, well, I really shouldn't call it my government, because the political class in South Africa, frankly, do not give a shit about ordinary citizens, whether they be black, white, or whatever color. In fact, at best, all the politicians in national leadership of every party, including the so-called white party of the DA, display a mild indifference to the suffering and challenges faced by ordinary South Africans. That, in my view, is also a fact. But I do not believe that South Africa, as is often reported in the media, can be characterized by hatred or racism. As I said, if the majority of non-white South Africans hated me as a white person, particularly with my disability, I would have been dead years ago. I have survived a home invasion in which I very easily could have been murdered because I was threatened at knife point and trapped in a car for 45 minutes, fully expecting to die. And that day, I very easily could have lost my life had a colleague not noticed that I had missed a morning meeting and come looking for me armed with a gun. I also am a survivor of the 2021 riots, which were sparked by the arrest of former South African President and current head of the Umkhonto we Party, Jacob Zuma. Now, before anyone argues with me, I don't care if he's not technically the party leader in parliament. He is the spiritual leader of that party. It is his presence that unites that party. And if Jacob Zuma was not involved with that party, all of its other members would eat each other alive because all of them are corrupt and simply in search of the easiest way to empower and enrich themselves. I do not believe that any political party in South Africa truly represents a viable way forward for all the people of this country. For example, there is what is known as the Cape Independence Movement, where some residents of the Western Cape are now campaigning to have it declared a sovereign nation, separate from the rest of South Africa. I do not support that. I think that is foolish because it is unfair to all the other provinces in this country and will only create further division among us, which is not what we need. Because, frankly, even though I do not believe in the general concept of white privilege, because white privilege is so often used as nothing more than a way to attempt to silence and victimize white people. The leaders of Cape Independence are overwhelmingly white and seem to me to be extremely selfish in their outlook. Essentially, what I hope to see in South Africa, and I'm not saying that this will happen, because given the political climate in South Africa right now, it is far more likely to get worse than it is to get better. But what I hope to see in South Africa one day is a country where we do not judge or mistrust one another based on racial or cultural differences, and that even if we disagree strongly, we do not threaten violence against one another. My message to you, as fellow South Africans and any international viewers around the world, is that I, as a white South African, look forward to the day when we judge one another based on the strength of our individual characters rather than narratives of collective responsibility for crimes committed by others. Because if you're going to blame me for the crimes of apartheid when I was not alive to participate in them, then by that logic, I should blame every innocent black person for every violent robbery, murder, or rape that takes place. This path is not the one any of us should want to go down, because it only ends one way: violence and death. South Africa has all the potential in the world to be a safe, prosperous, and sovereign nation, but it must be governed correctly, and the people of this country must be willing to acknowledge hard truths about their own responsibility for their situations and what they must do if they wish to be successful in life. I hope that this little story of mine resonates with you in some way and that you find some use in this content. Look after yourselves, take care of each other, put South Africa first, put racial differences aside as much as you can, and for now, farewell.